everyone. Hello again. We are here in Breakout Room 1 with Satish Alampali from Advantech, where he leads or heads up strategic assignments encompassing business development and regional expansions. He currently heads the industrial IoT sector in Singapore and is actively involved in activities at SIAA. So I'm glad to bring on Satish at this point to say a few words. Over to you, Satish.
Hi everyone. Good morning. Thanks, Jane. Okay, so today in this particular breakout session, we're going to have exciting discussion on IoT applications for effective sustainability and asset management. Okay, so that is the focus of this particular breakout. And just now, okay, make sure that you are in the right virtual room. Okay, nowadays physical rooms and virtual rooms, right? So you just make sure it's very easy to switch in this case, right? Otherwise, usually the physical rooms are something you have to move on. Okay, so in earlier sessions, what happened was just now, we discussed a lot about what are the challenges the building and property sector face, okay? And how do you really adapt to the changes? This is what we discussed, all the panelists, Steve and Alvin, and all of them experts were talking about this. Nevertheless, in this session, we want to brainstorm on how to have the entire ecosystem and have holistic solutions. For example, things like how do you better utilize utilize and manage the assets. For example, health of the assets, performance of the assets. Okay. Then moving forward, how we talk about the cost saving on the energy, right? So green energy and things like this. How do you optimize the lighting? Okay. So, and then things like even when the carbon CO2 levels go up in the room or in the building, how do you adjust the HVAC automatically so that you do optimization of the equipment? One example. Then things like environmental and air quality is just linked to this. Then another thing what happens is nowadays and spaces and retail building, shopping malls and things like this.
Satish, I think
make it so in terms of optimizing. Yeah. So now, with this in mind, okay, I have some questions to the audience first. Jane, can we have audience fully polling first?
Yeah, we actually have a mini poll for the audience. So can we pull that up, please, tech team? So can we have the audience work on this? It's just for.
So there are some questions. Yeah. So audience can use these things and then choose the multiple choices. So for example, have you adopted or planning to adopt a BIM? BIM is a building information which is used for management, and there are a lot of you have plans or you just started and things like that. Okay, so this is one of the question that I am asking all answers. Similarly, second one, how crucial is measuring the asset and health and performance for your building? Just so every one of you how you feel about it. Okay, how important it is. Okay, hello? Can you hear me now, Jane?
Yes, we can, but you're breaking up and it's in and out. Yeah.
Sorry about that. Yeah, now it's better?
Yeah, I don't know whether it's a network issue. We can't hear you, but it could be a network issue because you keep breaking up. Yeah, it sounds like there was some kind of lag as well on my end. Yeah.
Okay, now is it okay?
Yes, yeah. Let's hope it stays this way.
Yeah. Okay. So how crucial is the measuring of asset and health and performance of the building is second one, which you can just reply based on the three choices available there. Then are you planning to invest in contactless operations? I think in the earlier sessions we already talked about this. One, last two are there. Last one is what is on have dashboard overview for the building and energy monitoring. Okay, due to budget constraints, you want to keep it later or it's not needed, and things like this. So what I want is audience from you. Okay, so you all can submit the answers to this. Okay. Hello?
Yep, we can hear
Hello?
you. It's fine. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay. 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 So these are all the polling questions that you can submit your answers, and later on we'll have analysis and discussions on it. So once you finish the whole thing, you can put the submit button. Then we'll be able to see the answers. We can analyze our.
Satish, do you want to show the results right now or later?
So meanwhile, if it is ready, we can have. Otherwise, we can take up a question. That's what I was thinking.
Okay, I suggest we carry on.
Carry on.
Oh, there we go. It's here now. Yeah, it's done.
Okay, it's done. Okay, good. So as you can see on the good. So as you can see on the screen, well, the results are all coming up. Is it a live thing? I think, right?
Yeah.
Is going to come up. Okay. So for the first one, I would like to adopt, but have no adapter. So there is a 52% saying about not. There is an opportunity.
Would it help if?
In terms of how can we work on this? So yeah. So we just go one. Alvin, can you help me out?
Yes.
Did he call for me? Jane, can't really hear.
Yes. No? Okay. Yeah, I believe so, Alvin. I think there's quite a bit of a network issue on Satish's side. So I think I was asking for you to maybe comment on what you think of the results.
Yeah, so I'm actually not surprised. I think, it's about really getting, when I see the results, I can sense that, there is still that big divide or that big understanding of kind of what it means, both IoT in buildings, asset management, and what does that mean. So I think it just speaks to me loudly that number one, we need to educate, educational process needs to be more. Number two, I think sessions like this, right, creating that community to really understand what's going on, and how this, both IoT data becomes valuable for the building industry or for this industry. It's critical. So I think these are the two big takeaways that I have currently. So Satish, just in general, what I've just said, not sure whether you heard that. Okay.
So anybody else? Maybe Steve, you want to say something about it? Number one.
Yeah, just on that dashboard issue, I would say that when we're that the number one, smart building request we see from clients is around data analytics and having a very intuitive dashboard. You'll find here in Singapore, many of the large universities and big property developers all have cloud-based data analytics platforms and dashboards so that they can look and see the performance and benchmark and compare and get insights to share with all of their individual operators. Right, and so then you can have a limited number of experts looking at it and then guiding each of the individual operators. So I think we see the very big demand for that and people feeling the need. That's one of the ones where you do have a pretty straightforward ROI. Many people are realizing fairly significant utility savings when they implement these. It's a bit more of a straightforward solution. And that's probably what's driving demand.
Okay, that's good. I mean, you feel that there will be a good ROI based on if you go for a BIM, okay, and based asset life management, So, okay, that's a good to hear from you, Steve. What about Zach? You have any comment on this first question?
Yeah, I think actually what I'm excited to see that there's so much positive responses to this, but I also like where the wheels always fall off from our perspective is when it comes down to the investment. So I think what Steve's doing up in Punggol and the rest is pretty magical, and I wish that more people would have that kind of thought leadership. Because yes, having real time eyes on your capital plant is extremely valuable for reducing or optimizing, I should say, the ongoing maintenance of your facility. So, and also delivering the promise to your customers or your occupants, whatever that may be. So.
Okay. Okay, so that's good. I mean, at least we see that majority of the people are evaluating and not adopted, but there are some who have been already using it. It's glad to see this 20% range, which is already using this. Okay, and yeah, majority of them, 52 plus 12 plus 20 is something, which is encouraging in terms of BIM. Okay, so let's move on to the next one. How crucial is measuring asset for the companies, with respect to health and performance of the building? So when you see here, asset health is more important for me, is 12%. And there is none in terms of asset performance is more important, more important for me. So, but here, the last one, asset health and performance are equally important. Okay, that means both are really needed, which is something I think we need to focus. This particular breakout is more on how do you manage the assets at the end of the day, right? So, and so any comment from anybody? Maybe Alvin, you can start.
Yeah, sure. I think from the Johnson Controls point of view and also from a customer's point of view,
okay,
this is our bread and butter, right? And I think
yeah.
I think the biggest challenge now in driving, and maybe just slightly to sway away from the top, the question, it's with COVID, it becomes more and more difficult to say doing maintenance and on. So the digital aspect of driving maintenance is becoming more and more critical, number one, because traditionally in this industry, you send people on the ground and you go and repair the aircon, right? And repair the building technology, the building systems, management system. What we are doing a lot now is we are driving a lot of our digital enabled capabilities around our services and maintenance.
Okay.
Interestingly, we've got one of the world's largest library of what we call fault detection diagnostic, right? The library of asset models that allow us to drive predictive maintenance a lot better. And in the last 4 months, we are seeing tremendous uptake in customers reaching out to us in coming back and leveraging this library of asset models. Additionally, people are like, hey, just give me the basic maintenance program. Now that we have really built that library of asset models, we are seeing a lot more customers coming in. So I think this points directly at the fact that having that health and performance is now becoming more and more critical. So no longer a nice to have, but a must have. Maintaining the indoor environment quality, as I said earlier in the first session, is becoming more and more important. And the assets that are driving this are critical. All right.
Okay, so that good. At least I see that 88% of the audience also agree to this point, that these two are very, very important. Zach, you want to take something on this? You want to touch base on this point?
Yeah, we got a question from one of the folks here saying, like, do you see that there's resistance in the customer to use digital tools? I see that it's an education thing. I think that there is sort of an old school approach, or they feel that it might be potentially jeopardizing their role. Another question that came up in the previous panel was, is IT going to displace jobs? And I think that's kind of an immature response to the opportunity that's presented. And I think that, if you're in a mature environment where you have this rich set of data that you're responding and making decisions based on a rich data set. Once you have that, to go to another model, which is less data rich, you're just going to feel like you're blind. So I think once it's almost like, once you get exposed to the opportunity and you start to really look at like, oh, wow, monitoring the vibration on my motors or my pumps, having that rich data set just enables you to do your job so much better and more efficiently. And
Okay.
So I think once you have that data, and then if you go to an environment where you're not going to have it, you're just like, you feel like you're flying blind. You know what I mean? So I think, it's a tremendous opportunity. There is resistance to it, but I think a lot of that resistance is just lack of understanding.
Look, Zach is 100% right. What we see is the people who adopt it, they do one and they get a lot of success, and then they do a lot of it. And so we see clusters of clients that do a whole lot of it and clients that are a little concerned about that first step. But, if we ever need an example, I think about like JTC, right? So JTC has a cloud-based data analytics platform I forget how many now, 40, 50 buildings. If you build a new building for JTC, you don't put in a standalone on the system. They say, no, upload all that data, we'll analyze it, and we'll use that, and we'll send little reports to the manager and say, look, here are all the insights, and why does this building use 5% per square meter more than a very similar operating facility somewhere else? And a number of the larger clients, it's easier for them. They've got the ability perhaps to make the first step, but having made the first step, they see, wow, this really works and we need to do more of that. And so we see greater adoption from those who've done those pilot projects and seen the results, and therefore are convinced of the outcomes.
Okay.
In line with that, can I jump in real quick? There's another question along these lines. The question is, what are some of the immediate low-cost IoT-centric solutions that can be implemented to safeguard building safety? I guess the focus is on low cost and immediate.
Low cost, yeah. Okay, anybody want to take this up? I mean, IoT-centric solutions. Steve? Alvin?
Yeah, so maybe when you say safeguard the building safety,
Safeguard building,
aspects to it, right? Number one, low cost is you put processes in place and make sure that from a process and a standard operating procedure between the facility manager and the occupants of the building, the set up process. So that to me is the low cost, right? I think from a technology standpoint, there are also low cost technology where as simple as access control technology that protect the building safety, number one, right? Number two, I think if you kind of go up the ladder of security, I said earlier, the whole concept of converged physical and cyber in terms of protecting the building. That's number two. But what goes on in between is, safety now has, and security has now a new meaning, right? That means, from a temperature control to if you're in, do you get in a quick information on your mobile to say, has anybody walked in, or if someone gets a COVID within an environment, can that be informed to the rest of the occupants very quickly and immediately? So to see technology coming in, and we have those technology as well in GCI, where it goes onto an app in your mobile phone, and then it connects directly to your building management system, it connects directly to your access control systems, and therefore it's a digital thread that cuts across the building. Communication information gets passed to the occupants in time. So I would say, that there is a range, and then again, the definition of safety security, what does that mean? And process procedure, so the culture leadership becomes important. Then you add on technology, and then the technology has different ranges. All right.
Okay, Alvin, in that case, can I say that some kind of a face recognition, video analytics, all those things are going to help for the buildings in terms of safety and things like this?
Yeah, I think video analytics is important, but you need to understand that privacy is very important, right? And Asia, it's a bit less. but you have European companies in Asia, you have American companies in Asia, then it gets a bit more sensitive, right?
Okay.
We are a bit more open.
I got your point.
Around facial recognition, analytics with
yes. Okay.
So I think it all depends on, number one, the culture of the companies. Number two, the privacy rules and laws within me. But as a country, I think Singapore, and China, I think to a certain extent, video analytics is a big thing for us. But within the built environment, that's where I think it differs based on company.
Yeah. Okay. So let's move on because there are a lot of questions coming up. But I just want to jump to the third one. You see that here, are you planning in the poll, audience poll, right? Are you planning to invest in contactless operations for the building? Very interesting replies. When I see the polling results, you see here that almost 44% say yes immediately. Okay, that means they would like to jump into the contactless operations, and then yes, but in 1 to 2 years, 32% say. And it's not very crucial for us. 24% say that not very crucial. So it's a mixed feeling here. Quickly, maybe Steve, you want to just take up this?
Yeah, contactless is a very important topic. In fact, it was interesting. I was having a discussion with some industry healthcare experts, and we were talking about sterilizing airflows in buildings and all disinfection in the airflow. And they said, look, see, that's really important, but you spend your money where your biggest risks are, and your biggest risk is you probably have a higher risk from touching that door handle that somebody who was infected just touched than getting it somewhere else. So you would love to do everything, but if you have to spend money, stop people touching stuff is a good place to start, because and they said it's not just COVID, right? You think how often we all get sick from flus and influenza and the common cold and we just take it for granted. So just people, healthcare experts say we could all do ourselves a big favor just touching stuff less and thinking about that sort of contact. And they're not necessarily expensive things to put in some wave sensors for some doors or, those sorts of simple things to have us not touching so much high, door handles and the like, and lift buttons and things like that.
Yeah, I think the whole world has learned, due to COVID, that how careful we should be in this, right? So not only the general normal flu or anything, whatever we get, everything is because of transmissions. We need to avoid that. So which is good. That's why the contactless, I can see that a lot of people are adopting for it. So because of, okay, let's go to the fourth one. Very interesting when I see here, what is your view on having a good dashboard overview for building energy monitoring? Because energy is a very important, large cost for the buildings, right? In terms of operations and ROI, everything. So you can see that 56% of the people say yes, it's very important, okay? And 44% of the people, they say good to have, but I have a budget constraint, okay? So I can say roughly 50-50. Energy management, who want to take up? Alvin? You have anything on this dashboard?
Sorry, I was on mute.
Yeah,
definitely. So we've got many use cases with regards to how we think about this. And when you say building and energy monitoring, I think of it. It's not just energy monitoring.
Yeah. Okay.
The entire building.
Lighting and
So what we have now is we have a Johnson Control Enterprise Management platform that has an ability to ingest all the various data sets and disparate data within the building, put it into a single pane of glass, and really provide people with the insights. But more importantly, not just insights, but actionable insights that will then drive command and control back to the building technology. Right, so that's number one. And number two, even extended it further to connect that with the mobile, which I've explained earlier, and really bring that accountability and that responsibility to the employees. And what we have done in creating this dashboard, or what we call a single pane of glass through software, is to really bring live to the data points around ESG, environment, social, and governance, right? So that's a big topic of sustainability that everybody talked about. But sustainability, you have the likes of Leeds, the Well Institute, and all that. You know, those data are not live. They are not dynamic, right? It's after the fact, you are collecting it, you are collecting historical data. What we do is we are creating that ecosystem in partnership with a lot of these third-party providers. And how do you bring that into a single And number two, how do you then drive command and control so that you continuously optimize your building and your environment? So I see the framework as get connected to start with, which we said earlier. Since the price of sensors are coming down, then get insights, right? Deploy an application and analytics software to kind of get insights, and then from insights you drive actionable insights, command and control, and now you can get optimized. So get connected, get insights, get optimized.
Okay, fine. So I think that's about the dashboard, for example, energy management.
Satish, could I just add something?
Sure.
One of the reasons I think that the dashboards are really important, especially some of the ones that have got analytics behind them, is our building assets and the systems are getting so complex. And we as designers kind of are responsible for that. We keep putting more and more tech and more points, and it's getting beyond the ability of operators just through normal inspection and checking to see all of the things that are happening. And so these sort of analytics platforms are able to be an assistant, right, and guide, and they look at historical patterns and come up with little to-do lists, essentially saying, look at these 5 things today, because these 5 things are anomalous, or they're outside what we'd expect, or compared with other people. It's really acting as a friend to the operator, right? It's just, we're making things so hard for anyone just to simply look at a BMS and say, oh, I understand absolutely what's going on. When you've got 10,000 data points, when things go astray, how do you know? You need to use technology to help you out.
True.
Can I jump in here? I'm coming in the layman's point of view, because I want to loop in what Steve just said with a comment that was made during the plenary. If we look at is in the Q&A tab from someone in Malaysia. So they're talking about how they're having trouble influencing their key business personnel, especially when talking about financial and IoT investments, because they would rather see some tangible outcomes and measurable metrics, right, based on energy savings, dollars and cents. Whereas sometimes, I don't know, it sounds to my ears as a layman that the talk has very much focused on the technology side of it, whereas it needs to be translated to dollars and cents for the guys to actually sign off on various things to buy and things like that. I just wonder whether that's true.
Yeah, so sorry, that was exactly where I was going to go, Jane, which is like the Johnson Controls and the Beccas and the Alphatechs of the world need to do a better job of selling this. We need to find more meaningful ways to baseline and provide that basic understanding of how the system's going to add value. Because I just think once people see the value, it just becomes a no-brainer. So, I mean, Steve, Alvin, we need to do a better job.
Yeah, and look, study tours, I think, are the answer. People want to make up their own minds, and COVID's put a stop on that a bit. But I think all of us, when we have the ability to go and say, look, don't listen to us, go and talk to let's look at some other people who've done it, and talk to your peers, talk to your operational peer or the person, and see and hear from them what they've learned. I think that's the biggest influencer that you can do, is letting people see the great outcomes that other people have had and draw their own conclusions, rather than what any of us can do in a PowerPoint presentation. Unfortunately, we can't all travel at the moment, so we can only see local things. But even local things, I think they speak for themselves.
Okay, we have a lot of questions, overwhelming response. I see one of them I want to take from the audience here now. I see Colin Coe. There's one question from him. Colin is saying that, can sharing economy play a role that benefit the asset owners and users? Any use cases so far that are producing tangible results? Okay. So anybody want to comment on this?
So maybe I'll let Steve or Zach jump in on whether there are any other use cases they have seen. I mean, I personally have not seen a full-blown kind of sharing economy driving this. Here's what I'm seeing, right? What I'm seeing in this space is the whole concept of ecosystem, and I'll address some of the other questions that have come up, right? The ecosystem is becoming big, right? So core versus context. So companies like JCI, we have 135 years of history, right? Domain knowledge around HVAC, around fire, safety, security, and building management systems, right? But we do not want to do a lot of others. And here's what we do. We are now using digital as part and parcel of opening up the way we think about technology, creating a much more open ecosystem for startups, for partners to come in and co-create with us to drive better insights, better actionable insights into the building. So we've been partnering with different players, right? One of them are like the likes of Microsoft, which is huge for us in terms of our partnership. We partner with players like Accenture, for example. We spend a lot of time with them. So we are now building a bigger ecosystem to kind of address, I guess, outcomes. And let me rephrase and articulate that clearly. And I think Zach and Steve will align with me on this, that in the world that we live in, it's around domain and digital, right? You can't go in all guns blazing and say, hey, let's do IoT and we are now a digital and we go, right? Without understanding domain, you need to understand mechanical engineering. You need to understand electrical engineering. But it brings the component and unlock the value of that data coming out from all these assets and equipment and the health of this equipment. So domain and digital is key. As a domain company, as we evolve into digital, we believe in an open ecosystem and how we bring the entire ecosystem to bear in providing those outcomes for our customers.
Okay, yeah, good. I mean, I agree with you on this, but there is Jane, you have something?
Yeah, I was wondering, okay, I think there are some property guys in our audience.
Okay.
So I was wondering whether we can address a question that's more to their, their concern. There's a question that says, one of the key issues now at this moment, especially is that key asset managers are also unclear as to the key metrics and solutions that they need. So I'm just wondering, are there certain kinds of items that should be standardized or pushed? And this also links back to an earlier question on whether there's going to be a mark for buildings that are COVID safe. And I'll be moving towards that.
Okay.
Maybe I would just jump in and then I'll let Zach and Steve jump in as well. So number one, the metrics around the building, and it's now slowly coming to bear and be a bit more prescriptive around the concept of sustainability. So ESG, environment, social, and governance, sustainability metrics are becoming critical, right? And that whole ESG, that wellness aspect. So if you think about companies like Fitwel, companies like Well Institute that is providing those benchmarking, they are becoming now a must-have, right? And these are some of the key metrics that you're beginning to see from the groundswell to say, what are the process, what are the data points that I need to measure in order for me to certify, or not even certify, in order to me to say openly upfront to say, hey, my building is safe. So if you look at a use case like a Well Institute, they do now have not a full-blown Well Institute certification process. They have certain certification process to say, hey, your building is safe if you follow a set of 21 questions and you meet those standards, for example, right? So you are beginning to see that coming up more, and companies are now beginning to adopt that. So it's a mixture of going with professional certification bodies and a mixture of really driving and the metrics around this whole post-COVID world of safe and security that you're putting in place. And that's what I'm seeing.
So yeah, quickly, just to add on, Alvin, I mean, I think it's got to be a holistic approach. I mean, there's definitely a place for policymakers to participate in the BCA and other agencies. But then also just us as vendors in the marketplace, we need to do a better job of advocating and educating as well. So, but I do, when GrainMark first came out, there were some very peculiar, prescriptive things, and there was certain sensors that there was only one company that had one that was, that had the temperature sensitivity that you needed on your chill water systems, and it was a mess. But you know what? A little bit of misstep on the front end, but the result is good in the long run. So, I applaud Singapore for, having the courage to be willing to create something and make some mistakes and then pivot along the way. And I think we all have to, it's a journey, not a destination. And there is a lot of opportunity because the market here still is immature compared to the European market or, some of the Western markets that, have been, again, like fresh air in ACMP systems. There's still many buildings I go into and they have zero fresh air. And it's just like, how in the world is this even possible? I mean, ASHRAE has published these standards for 75 years on fresh air requirements in buildings since sick building syndrome in the 50s. So I don't, it's like, why are we still living with this legacy of bad decisions? So anyway, I think it's a multifaceted approach is the only way we're going to get there.
Yeah, we got to get you more in the Johnson control and the spokesperson.
We have 2 more minutes left, so.
Okay. I think we are running out of time. In that case, I have one question. Okay, which Jane, anything from the audience we need to take or?
I think we can pick on any. There are quite a few. So yeah, let's see.
Okay, there is one on the agriculture sector. What impacts will the IoT have on the agriculture sector? Maybe is about vertical farming kind of thing or
field, yeah. Or
so,
green architecture.
Having just partnered with Becca on a project where we put together a proposal for the NUS Agricultural Translational Research Center. I think that IoT definitely plays a part in that because to do a traditional BMS system with hardwired sensors is just so we proposed a solution that utilized and harnessed both hardwired as well as remote Wi-Fi based sensors based on the specific needs and the ability to be agile and be able to change to the dynamic environmental requirements of different grow zones and different technologies and different types of agricultural systems. So, we were really pleased to have partnered with Becca and come up with a solution that utilized traditional as well as sort of advanced and new technology, but all of it would be cloud accessible, very much IoT from the traditional to the sort of highly nuanced and innovative. So I think it absolutely, as we become more sophisticated and we need to meet the nutritional needs of a growing population in the face of climate change and everything else, we're going to have to get smarter about how we produce these things and leverage smaller resources to get better outcomes for everybody. So.
I think I misread the question. I thought it had to do with greenery of buildings, creating a landscape, and,
No.
Yeah, culture and that, not greenery. Yeah.
The government certainly made it very clear in Singapore that they want to invest in some more food self-sufficiency. I think we all held our breath a bit at the early stage of COVID when we suddenly realized, how this nation here is reliant on other sources. So they certainly want to do that. And we're going to have to use technology in an urban environment, as Zach just eloquently said. You need to really analyze to create an artificial environment that's going to maximize agricultural output. So I think we're going to see more of that. Now this has all been brought home to us, the extent to which Singapore is reliant on other countries for its food supply. We can't keep doing that. That's a national security risk now.
Okay, so I think let's do one thing. I think it's time to sum up, right? Because already 12.
Very quickly, yeah.
Very quickly. Okay, so I just scribbled down something when all the experts were talking, and then based on the questions from the audience. So what I really felt is based on the audience poll, it's very important the ROI part of it, which is about 52% of the people feel that ROI is very important. And then Steve agreed on it. Yeah, this is something which all vendors, we need to look into it. Whatever we suggest, is it worth investing? Okay, the building owners are looking into this, trying to balance between the need and the budget, right? So this is something which we all agree on, I think. Then the contactless operations are of important. And then and what we concluded is also dashboard, like Steve was mentioning, and even Aluna saying about it. So which is very important to get the complete feel of the building and things like that in terms of various parts, not only energy and things like this. Okay, and then I think it was a good discussion, but there are so many questions I think not answered yet, and of course it always happens, and I do have a big list again, but still we can't attend to all.
Yeah.
Attend to all, and it's very good, very interactive, and a lot of learning I think all of us had. So I would like to say thank you very much to all the panel members and the audience for active participation. Jane, you want to take it over? Yeah.
Yeah, so I echo that. Thanks, everyone. And also to the audience for joining us today and participating. For the audience, you may have more questions that are too shy to ask. And even for the unanswered questions just now, don't worry, we will be posting them on the Interchange community platform, where you're also invited to join us and post even more questions if you want to. Have your comments posted there and also interact with each other in the discussion forums, okay? So information on joining the Interchange is shown on the chat room. There should be a link there, and also in an email that you get after this session. So do take a moment also to give us some feedback on what you think of this session so that we can do better in future. And also let us know if you have ideas for future topics. We'd love to hear from you. So, and the link of today's entire webinar, the recording, will be posted on the IoT Asia Plus website in due course. Once again, thanks everyone for joining us today, and we look forward to seeing you at Interchange and also having you in future episodes. Right? Thanks so much. Goodbye.
Thank you.